First up, we have with us a very enterprising personality who's also a seasoned finance professional. We have with us Mr. Vikas Chadha, who is a financial expert and also former director and CFO with the Backroom Hotels. So he will be moderating the entire panel discussion for us. And joining him, we have with us Mr. Giridhar Sanjeevi, who is the executive vice president and CFO with the Taj Hotels, having built a broad-based career across 3 decades in multiple businesses. He will be joining in to share his experience and expertise as well. We also have with us Mr. Amit Jaiswal, who's the CFO with Royal Orchid Hotels. In fact, he's achieved path-breaking growth in the corporate finance leadership. So we're truly delighted to have him on board as well. I believe we are still waiting for Mr. Sajad Nurani as well as Mr. Sonu Jalan to join in our speakers panel over here. They're already in the waiting room. I think we're just going to push them right here. But let me inform you that we have Mr. Sonu Jalan, who's the Associate Director, Real Estate Investments with Kotak Real Estate Fund. And we also have Sajad Nurani, who's a risk head corporate and institutional business with Aditya Birla Group. When he's not talking about capital and money, he's also an avid photographer. So yes, I think we're going to capture some interesting moments here in this panel discussion. What we do is let's get the session started probably. And meanwhile, our set of presenters will also join in a moment. That's the update I'm getting from the team. Also, all the attendees, we hope you're all tuned, all set to gather the insights from our speakers. I'll request Mr. Vikas, sir, I'm going to request you to start the session, and meanwhile, the rest of the 2 presenters will join you in as well. So over to you, sir.
All right. Good morning, all, and a warm welcome, friends. This is a good opportunity for all of us to understand the current situation with respect to the hospitality business and brainstorm on opportunities and solutions for the revival post-lockdown. Who better than our CFO friends Giri and Amit to discuss and highlight the industry view, and our banker friends from private equity as well as from the NBFC side, Sajjad and Sonu, who can give us their perspective on how they perceive the future for the industry and thereby the opportunities to fund the same. So as the topic was about the fund and how we're going to raise capital, we'd like to keep these discussions practical with some directional points and solutions for our hotelier friends who are now working to restart or have recently restarted operations post Unlock 1. I will try and ask questions which are also relevant for standalone hoteliers who have their wealth and savings invested into these assets and today need guidance on how do they restart operations. Where do they look for restart fund, pre-opening funding? What trends are being seen in terms of bookings? Is the recovery really going to be slow or V-shaped? Are hotels going to see a large traction from domestic and local tourism? And are these signs visible through inquiries and bookings in the first week post-unlocking? What should hoteliers and F&B service providers expect going forward? What's their view on meetings, conferences, wedding business, and inquiries? These are some of the questions which, as a fraternity, hoteliers need to find answers. So let me start by asking our CFO friends that with the unlocking of hospitality, what's the forecast for revival of business, including food and beverage, meeting, conferences, weddings? And would hotels need additional funding both on operational side as well as on project completion side to take care of the current operational requirements? So I'd like request Giri to take a stab at it, and then Amit can add on to this.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Vikas. I think what we are seeing is that clearly things have slowed down in the first quarter, and we're happy that the lockdown is gradually getting lifted. We would like, of course, better coordination between states in terms of how the lockdowns get lifted, but that has not yet happened. I think the good news is that India is largely a domestic market, and therefore I think that augurs well in terms of patterns of recovery. We have seen, of course, what has happened in China, where recovery has happened post the COVID situation. And the other thing about the hotel industry is that, as you know, bulk of the business comes from October to March. It is seasonal in that sense. And so our hope is that the recovery aided by domestic should hopefully stabilize to a great extent by the time the season commences. And all of us are working on that basis. Of course, we are being very realistic. A lot of our planning is kind of tactical in terms of responding to situations, ability to be agile actually. But that is what we're seeing. In terms of where the demand will come from, I think within domestic, we certainly see staycations. It's areas where drive-around destinations are possibly going to be popular. Though I understand from speaking to some of the CEOs in the airline business, what I understand is that amongst the different modes of transport, if you leave out your own self-drive, air traffic, I mean, flying by air is probably going to be the safest mode of transportation as compared to buses or trains, actually. So hopefully, I think as people get more comfortable in terms of being able to venture out and start taking up, whether it is vacations, weekend holidays, local drive-around destinations, I think those will be good things. We're also seeing that many Indians who used to travel abroad for international holidays, they are not able to do so now, and therefore that creates an opportunity for them to sort of start using the Indian destinations, and that's a very important driver, I suppose. On the F&B side, I think what is happening is that clearly social distancing means that there's a very big factor of trust, which will be important. My own sense is that standalone high street restaurants need to demonstrate the trust to be able to get the customers back. I think that is a much harder challenge for standalone restaurants. As far as weddings and MICE are concerned, I think we have done a couple of weddings. We have inquiries for meetings. Of course, currently the regulations permit not more than 50 people, but nevertheless, it's a start. So I think it's our job to be optimistic. It's our job to try different possibilities. And I think we will also probably do things like home delivery and online delivery stuff will begin. So I guess we will have to reorient ourselves in terms of being able to meet our customer needs. So that is what I would see as the lay of the land, cautiously optimistic, willing to try out new possibilities, and most importantly, keeping the health and safety of not just our employees, but our guests in mind.
Sure. Thank you. And Amit, would you like to add on something?
Yes, definitely. Giri has covered the whole scenario very well. But let me tell you guys that the first quarter, definitely there is a big hit. Because what used to happen is that in the first quarter, when the summer season used to pitch in, and there used to be the leisure destination used to do very well. We have seen in last 3 years that Goa has turned out to be a big leisure destination as far as in the summer is concerned, and cities like hill station like Mussoorie, Mysore, and all used to do very well. So we have definitely lost out on the first quarter. Now the question comes, how going forward, what's going to happen? Yes, we have to be optimistic about it, and we are optimistic that things will fall in place. But as you all know rightly, that the worst hit is the tourism sector. So our industry comes into the tourism sector, so we are the worst hit. Let's be very factual things are realized that most of the hotels are in red right now. So, as because your question was that what will be required to manage the whole scene. Yeah, definitely we are in red, and the hotels were not sitting with some cash. They are in real deep trouble managing the whole scenario right now. So operationally, as your question was that because operational and the project side. So operational side, first target of us will be how do we break even? Primarily, basically, to make sure that we are able to recover our cost, the operational cost from the revenue, which I think that another couple of months it will be difficult. It will be difficult, and if we are not hit by the second wave of corona, what people are talking about, then probably we will be back to track by mid of August onward. We'll see the traction of the tourism industry coming back to track, and we would start doing well, and probably we'll be able to break even as far as our cost and revenues are concerned. And as Giri rightly said, that domestic tourism has got a lot of opportunities. People are fed up sitting in the house and not going out anywhere. Like last 3 months, I have not traveled anywhere. So people are getting fed up. So definitely once the thing eases out, then we will see that domestic tourism will start and people will start first takeoff will be the leisure destination. Definitely they will come back to track very fast in India. And of course, the business, as Giri has rightly said, that our business scenario is the season starts from October. So we are quite hopeful that if the way things are going, if we are able to contain the government, although the government has done quite well, if you really look at it, especially in Karnataka, so definitely we have done quite well in containing the thing. But yeah, we are keeping our fingers crossed that things should fall in perspective, and then we'll take on from that. So as far as the operational expenses and funding is required, I don't see that a big challenge for hotel industry because the operational requirements are quite less. But of course, people who have taken up projects and like you were into some kind of renovation and all, then we have a challenge there. Meeting the renovation cost, or if you have taken a new project and all, getting into that from the definitely when we take up a project, there is some amount of internal resources are considered while taking up the project. So getting internal resources will be a difficulty. Probably we'll have to look for some outside source of funding for those projects. And as far as yeah, there will be an issue. Hotel group or the companies who are having debt, meeting the debt in the current scenario looks quite difficult. We will have real challenge in meeting our commitment towards the debt, because unless until you have an abundant overflow of the income over the expenses, operational expenses, so meeting the debt looks really challenging, and that is why the industry has approached the government that the debt given to the hotel industry should be looked differently in this period of. And I think government has taken a stance till August. They have definitely deferred the payments of debt. So with that, we have a breather, but still, I feel that the hotel industry to come back to track to the older time, it will take some time. It will take some time.
Okay, thank you for the open discussion. So since we're talking about debt, I'd like to bring the banker in. Well, I'd like to ask Sajjad that from a banker's perspective, does he agree with this revival forecasts from the hoteliers, the CFOs, and are banks and NBFCs specifically doing something to reduce the pain for the restart for the hoteliers? What sort of options are available for them?
Hey, hi Vikas, and hi the entire panel. I fairly agree with Amit that the revival estimates the leisure will start first. And I was reading somewhere, and a new term I came across is revenge spending. That is that people like us are so tired of being at home. Once the lockdown opens up, or we can move out of our cities, we will go and spend. So my sense is that the weekend getaways, the likes of Lonavalas, Alibags, the Nainitals will start first, where you can just take your car and drive across or drive through for 3 hours, 4 hours and reach your destination. So those will start first. As rightly highlighted by my friends, business will take some time, because this year, since nothing has happened in the first 3 months, corporates are going to cut cost, and travel is one of the unfortunate aspects which will get impacted. So business will start maybe after 6 months, or business travel will start after 6 months to 9 months. So broadly on those lines, but coming to your question, whether lenders will fund this aspect, I think being a committed partner with our corporates, this is certainly bankers can look at funding the OPEX. This will help kickstart the operations as per the new norms. I know we're all discussing what is the new norm, and we still have to agree and arrive at what is the consensus, which is in interest of all and beneficial to our end customers. But agreeing to that, the lenders have to come to terms to fund the OPEX. But mind you, this will be done only by your existing lender. A new incoming lender will find it difficult to bridge this short-term gap.
Okay. So you look at basically the six covenants which are available and any spare limits. So you're going to allow people to reforecast and have some liquidity around that. Maybe have some flexibility around short-term funding.
So this can be structured as a short-term OPEX limit to restart some IT systems, IT softwares, or just some refurbishment of the existing setup. So those kind of OPEX can be looked at, which could be a separate limit. If you've got an undrawn line, then you're lucky. But if you don't have an undrawn line, then you will have to rework on getting some short-term funding from your lender. And again, I repeat, this can be done by your existing lender. A new incoming lender will find it difficult to come in at this stage.
In fact, I would like to come in there, Vikas. As Sajjad has rightly said, I was speaking to one of our lender, and the top brass of the institution told us that we'll be more than happy at this point of time lending to my known customer than going to a new one, because I know that I have a track record of the customer, I know the customer well, their business, I understand the business, so it is easier for me to take a call on lending further to the to my existing customer than going to a new one. So I feel that, as Sajjad rightly said, that existing lenders will definitely stretch their hands to in this time of crisis.
Yeah.
Okay. Ask our equity investment. Equity various restrictions here, especially the single owner. Private and HNI, is there an option for them to put in? Because maybe there are options. I seem to be lagging in terms of the.
Because we can't hear you.
Hello?
Vikas,
we can't hear you. Yeah.
Okay, just a minute. Just let me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. No, we lost you again.
But, so basically, the question too soon. Okay.
Would you be able to type in your question, Vikas? Maybe we can pick up from there. Maybe while we kind of wait for Vikas's signal to come back, maybe I can chip into the earlier discussion in terms of fundraising. I think my own sense is that I think different people are at different stages of difficulty in terms of fundraising, is what I would say. I think those, as somebody said, I think that people who have undrawn lines, I think it's probably in the best position where you are able to draw down the lines. I think there was a nice window which the Reserve Bank of India opened up, which was the targeted long-term repo operation. I think I would sort of encourage hoteliers to sort of approach their banks to sort of look at NCD type issuances, which are available for 3 years or so. And one of the advantages of that targeted long-term repo operation is that you do get monies which are more for general corporate purposes, which is very critical at this stage, because end-use restrictions are something that all hotels will deal with, because typically the loans are taken for renovations, and with renovations not happening, but you need more money for operational purposes. I think talking to your bank still, because I understand that of the 100,000 crore limit that Reserve Bank of India gave, I don't think everything has been used up as of date. So my recommendation is that please talk to your bankers in terms of TLTRO. I think you should be able to get some money. I think the other thing is that if I look at the old CDR type structures, I think there has always been, banks have always basis working on financial feasibility of recoveries. They've always kind of had a system of priority loans actually, and I think so. Therefore, I think it is important that people kind of get back in terms of talking to the banks on priority loans, which can actually rank senior most in terms of order of repayment once the recovery starts. I think it's worth kind of accessing some of those lines. And the other thing is that the good news about hotel industry is that I think most hoteliers have fundamentally good assets actually. Of course, it depends what their existing level of loans are. So I think if there is still capacity available against your assets or you've got assets which are free from mortgage, I think do access lenders who can give you money on asset-based mortgages, where again the end-use restrictions can be very minimal actually. And the last one I would say is that do not necessarily seek out short-term funding, because the reality is that you do run into refinance risks actually. So hence, I would always say that short-term lending should be your absolutely last resort. And finally, owners should also be in a position to sort of think about their own contributions, because my sense is, again, I think banks have spoken about restructuring loans, things like that. My sense is that if owners are open in terms of bringing in a little bit of their own money as shareholder loans or owner funded, I think that will go a long way in terms of being able to restructure debts to help all of us, help all the industry. So I think one needs to think about it in a much more comprehensive way in terms of making sure that you are well funded for this situation. I mean, I just thought I'll step in when Vikas will probably come back in. So I do not know what Amit and the others think in terms of what I spoke. Yeah.
Giri, I think what you're telling is right. This is the time to come forward. So, things will not be like this forever. We have seen so many ups and downs in the industry. Really, in the last 30 years, also what I can see is that we have seen a lot of ups and downs, and in the downs lies the opportunity. So in India itself, I find there will be a lot of opportunities for the hoteliers to bank on and encash if we are able to arrange, funds. Definitely, there will be a lot of opportunities, and roll out it. We are now 61 hotels, so we are always looking for expansion. And in this scenario, also, we are very positive about it. That definitely there will be a lot of opportunities which will come up to us, and we like to arrange. So, in fact, back of the office, we are sitting together and trying to see what opportunities can be encashed, because you enter at the low and you are the best deal you can get. So we are very positive about it, and it will not be like this forever. Yeah, this is a challenge which has come right now, unseen challenge which has come, but definitely it will not last forever. It's a matter of time. If we can scale through this time, then definitely we can increase our bandwidth, we can increase our portfolios, and and it might be bright. Yeah, there is a question of deep pockets. You need to arrange funds either through your own sources or look at some outside ways and means of raising some funds and get good.
Yeah. I think because you had a question on equity for, I think, Sonu. Maybe you should, yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's much clearer, Vikas.
Okay. So basically, the question was towards the equity side. What are the options? Because apart from debt, what are the options in terms of equity which the hoteliers can look at? One is at a group level, like a Taj or a Royal Orchid, but there are many hotels which are managed by these brands but owned by single asset owners. What are the options in which they can look at alternative forms of raising money through equity? So any insights onto that which you'd like to share?
Sure, Vikas. I think I will pick from where Giri kind of left. Times are tough. Industry is going through a very rough ride. And this is a time for existing stakeholders probably to come forward and support the industry. Expecting new capital from a new investor, be it a new lender or be it a new private equity player, it would be a challenging for some time. I think most of the people, even operators, are trying to gauge what the impact of COVID would be, right? Nobody knows whether the recovery would be sharp V or it would be longish U. So one will have to probably assess what type of opportunities would be existing, and therefore those capitals would be available as and when required, right? So from an investor's perspective, they still are guesstimating whether the problem is deep enough just to impact the smaller player, and therefore the need of capital is consolidation capital, or the pain is further deeper enough to trouble some of the bigger players, and therefore the need of capital is actually rehabilitation capital, right? So one will have to just see where the markets are stabilizing or operations are stabilizing before capital from private equity industry can flow from a growth and from normal operations perspective. Now, if at all, we have to look from a distress perspective, but of course, interest has been building up. We have seen examples of deal happening, Brookfield acquiring Leela assets. So these type of opportunistic capital sources would be available. Now, challenges generally the industry has faced so far is the history has not been kind. The great global financial crisis kind of really broke the bones of hospitality industry in India, at least. It went through longest 5 years of doldrum, and since just 15 FY15 and 16, the industry has been seeing some bit of upturn, right? From an economic standpoint, from an operating metrics perspective, these were looking quite robust and were expected to be further strong. That was pre-COVID. Now, what this COVID is going to have as an impact is still to be guesstimated. Whether the recovery path would be still similar to what we saw last time, hopefully not, or whether it would be sharp, hopefully yes. That will determine what kind of capital would be available. Now, from a size perspective, also, unfortunately, the industry is still so fragmented. The quality and the size of deals from a capital provider perspective is not too large. So people are unfortunately not able to probably set up a hospitality industry focused fund. We haven't seen many, right? If at all, we have to just compare and see. For that matter, commercial. Most of the people have set up large platforms to acquire some of these commercial assets. That has not happened for the industry yet. Can it happen? But of course, it can happen at the right time and moment. The way, so from an investor perspective, money would be available provided there's enough business case and stability in the returns, right? So even commercial office space suffered severe blowdown post global financial crisis. However, it was able to recover on back of ITES demand. Post that, we have seen that this class has emerged as the best class for the investors. Yield from a transaction yield perspective, from high 11s, it has gone down to maybe touching 8, right? So that is 40% value creation just on the pricing of these assets. So similarly, I think industry will have to probably look for ways to improve the economic returns in these assets and business. And I'm sure investors would be coming chasing down them.
Yeah, so when you're coming on to the topic of return in terms of commercial properties, I'd like to push it back towards the hospitality players and say about the market cap. So when you look at the market cap of players, listed players already in the market, they're not very extremely low compared to the real asset value which they're holding. So is this in a way justified, or how do you think the business can influence valuation? Because when we see a new IPO of any new player coming into the market, you see a very good valuation, at very high multiples in terms of profitability, whereas the existing players which are into the market and listed are not finding that those kind of valuations coming in. So is it something inherent into the business itself, or you see there's a upside? One is from I'd like to know from Giri's perspective, like why is that happening and why unlocking of value would not happen, and then maybe from Sonu's perspective, that why are people not valuing companies the way they would otherwise value a commercial player? Because maybe there is a sensitivity towards the business, But even now on the rental side, I think people are facing, on the malls and all, retail players are also equally facing the brunt in terms of non-payment defaults, like, lower occupancies. So why is there such a big disconnect in terms of having a different set of norms for hoteliers, and why is that value not getting unlocked? Giri, if you can give your point, then I would like the priority also.
No. I mean, the reality is that the hotel industry has always been a high P industry, actually. That's a fact. That's a fact, actually. And I think given uncertainty in business, clearly the pricing has corrected. But I think one of the things to note for most hotel companies in India, the volume of trading is not very significant, actually. That's a fact. So what has happened is that if you look at your own institutional base, I think most of your institutional base is largely intact, and therefore it has taken pretty much limited volumes to have driven down the pricing, to be honest, actually. I think that is one part of it. Some of the FIIs may have sold a bit, but definitely DIIs have not sold. I mean, that is what my sense is. I think the current pricing, I mean, I don't comment on whether my share price is appropriate or not, but in general, yes, it has come down. And those may afford different kinds of opportunities. I think, number one, on a quasi-debt basis, I do see that there are people, credit funds, who are now willing to look at FCCB type structure, actually. Now, is FCCB the right structure for the particular entity is something that the entity needs to take a call. But I think certainly that can be a meaningful funding which can come in at this point of time, which can give a lot of flexibility. Of course, you need to be prepared that an FCCB means that at a certain point of time in the future, there will be a dilution, actually. And from a lender perspective, credit funds perspective, FCCBs can actually offer a very good upside to many of the credit funds who want to come in using that route, actually. So that is one. Of course, bear in mind that if the share price drops further, then FCCBs get payable on demand. So therefore, and we have seen that in the early part of the decade 2011, 2010, where FCCBs went kind of pear-shaped and companies were in all kinds of trouble. So I think there are a set of investors who are willing to look at these structures. Clearly, there's an opportunity for promoters also to sort of look at raising their equity stakes much beyond the trigger, the acquisition trigger of 5%, provided that you price any issuance at a certain discount below TERP. So I think it is possible to it's an opportunity for promoters to be able to enhance their stakes, and this is probably a great opportunity. But I would not recommend any preferential issue at this stage, because the reality is that your existing set of investors are sitting on certain book losses in reference to their own investments, and therefore the most equitable form of fundraise is going to be a rights issue, where I think if companies are considering it, they should do it so that they give an opportunity for all the institutional participants to kind of invest. Of course, you need to bear in mind what is your own retail stock, because I think if your retail proportion is significant, then those are a bit of an unknown in terms of what they do, even with a well-priced rights issue, actually. They may not invest, but if you have a reasonably good institutional base, then I think rights issue is fair not only for promoters but also for institutional investors. What else? I think yeah, and of course, you could also consider a QIP, but maybe not the right time. But I think if it is at a good premium, of course, a QIP with a good premium to current market price is something that the existing investors may not mind, actually. I think so. In order, I would say that quasi-equity in terms of FCCBs are an option. Rights issue is the fairest. QIPs at an appropriate premium is fair, but the point is, depending upon who you are, I think the ability of being able to access pricing at a premium is something to be looked at. So all in all, of course, the other ways of raising monies is not necessarily through equity issuance. It can also come through monetizations. And I think if you are able to monetize, and I think that can help release some capital. The only thing I would say is that when you monetize assets, don't use it to meet operating expenses. Use it to repay debt, so that you create headroom. It will be a pity if you sell a family silver to pay the butler, as they say. Actually, I think we should not do that. I think, but selective monetizations is something that I would certainly recommend companies to look at. So everything is up in the air, and I think all of these required very deliberate calls. So we'll see. I think, yeah.
Yep. So specific to that's specific to like Giri's point of view, but I'm generally saying so. One good point which he raised was on monetization. Do private equity guys actually feel that there is an opportunity here, to actually look at getting this whole basket of assets which are already pre-managed by good brands, and then looking at that basic ROI and coming and investing in these kind of assets. So is something like that possible, or would they want to tie up with some brands and work on those options?
So Vikas, that is totally possible. I think even in history, investors have probably supported some of the platforms to aggregate assets and create a chain. Right, Sami is one of the examples.
Yeah.
Of such platform, right?
Yeah.
So whether those capital would be available in that format, whether investors have invested in that format, yes. But is the time right? Maybe it depends upon what the future holds for the industry and what is the perception of the investors currently. Converging these two together, ultimately, at what value some of these monetization will happen, right? So some of the people who would be looking to shed some of these assets, and hopefully there would be only some and not many. If at all market is flooded for monetization and assets are available dime a dozen, that will further impact the value as well as availability and confidence, right? So these are some of the considerations for investors to take into account before just putting up platforms. Now, again, I'm coming back to the point that I made earlier. People are still assessing how deep this impact could be, whether this is just opportunistic and it is going to be existing for next 6 months, and therefore, from investors' perspective, whether they have the bandwidth and focus to probably capitalize on opportunity which is going to exist only for 6 months, or it is going to be there for some time, and therefore it definitely from a longer term perspective this makes a business case, right? So the way we'll see how the things are probably panning out before the nature of capital that can flow can be determined, right? So from a deal perspective, but of course Brookfield Leela deal is one of the examples wherein private capital is actually supportive of the industry and is confident about the long term future, right? So again, some of these assets will have to be priced. Maybe the pricing is not going to appeal to some of these people who are looking to offload assets. Because I think the first thing that we need to put in place is what is the recovery path for the industry. Whether whether on asset level as well as on business level, there would be consummate returns, right? So far, we have seen most of the companies have been having suboptimal ROI, but of course, they have been improving over time. But still, those have been in range of say 5 to 8%, even pre-COVID. So whether that in isolation is exciting enough for few people to buy these assets at fair price, or they will look for some underpricing, is the question.
Yeah. No, that's fair. In fact, I think the only people who may put in monies without complete regard for immediate returns is probably the HNIs, actually, where there are significant ultra HNIs who may use this opportunity to sort of buy up trophy assets, actually. So I think that's a route which is available. But of course, if you hope to continue to manage those assets, then you need to make sure that the backup operating agreements are kind of meaningful, because otherwise, yeah, you're right. Value discovery is going to be a very big problem.
Our industry being a very capital, asset heavy industry. So this question of return on capital has always been thronging in my mind for last, so many years. 10, 11, when we saw the crisis happening and all. So we, in fact, at that time we had demonetized one of our assets and got out of all the, crisis what we had. And as Giri rightly said that, if somebody can demonetize their asset, they can get out of certain situation, put the cash into the right use. But the issue, what happens always, this question comes, as Sonu has rightly said, there's a lot of assets available. The issue comes up that if I and Giri can't run our asset properly and make profit out of it, then who else can do? So that decides the value of the assets. Although I may perceive value anything, but ultimately, the investor or the buyer looks at what is the return he can get out of that asset, and that decides the pricing of the asset. So that's a big, gap which I think whenever we are getting into an asset, we have to make sure that we run it very profitably. Ultimately, what matters is what is the kind of return we are able to take out of the asset. Which Sonu has rightly said, right now it is 5 to 8%, and 5 to 8% is not a very lucrative return which an investor looks at. Of course, if somebody is there for a longer tenure, definitely. And the biggest challenge in our industry is that the appreciation in the value never gets seen in the real terms, whether it is in the balance sheet or in the market cap. The appreciation in the value of the asset is never seen unless until it is demonetized. So these are the questions, I think, which always lies behind our mind. How do we handle it in the right perspective and get out of the situation? And of course, opportunities are there always for any player.
Yeah. So my question was also on how this is particularly for the standalone hotel. So when you're talking about hotel assets, it's also the assets which you manage, and there are you must be getting a lot of these queries, because as a group, maybe Tata can support the business for 6 months. The other guys could have deep pockets. Royal Oakwood could manage it for 6 months. The standalone hoteliers are actually facing the challenge, and many of them are even eventually looking at what are the opportunities, maybe bringing in an investor who can actually partner with them to tide away this issue. So in that situation, where as a brand you continue maintaining the management, can you bring in an investor, either a HNI or a private wealth guy, or maybe the I don't know, the private equity? It will be too small a transaction to come in and pitch into the equity, so that the immediate challenge in terms of the funding is resolved for them. So as a brand, do you foresee things like that happening, where you find like a slightly weaker financial owners wanting to exit, or maybe bring in equity partners, where you still retain the brand and continue operating the hotel, but you bring in a stronger financial investor to tide away the issue for the long term? So because I don't think people would continue holding and have the financial muscle to continuously keep funding losses. So they will definitely look at funding. So that was one part of it which we figured out was happening through your existing bankers and some operating level capital which can come in from the banks. But for the guys who are already stretched, the guys who would have like just opened the hotel a year back, where the occupancies anyway would have been lower and they were anyway not making the kind of financial numbers. And again, now facing this next 6 to 8 months of financial crisis, do you feel there's an opportunity to bring them all together under some umbrella and bring an investor to them, so that the brand continues to operate and manage, but there is some financial respite to these owners?
I think because you have hit the nail, this is the current situation which all operators are going to face. There will be a lot of portfolios and assets which will lie in this situation, and it is the operator who can bail them out in this current scenario. And in fact, we are also working towards it to get out of that. And as I said earlier, the first job of ours is to break even. In the current scenario, operational break-even is very, very much required. Then only we will get an investor also. If we are not able to break even, then getting an investor right at this juncture will be a very difficult job. So we are looking towards that, and there is an opportunity in the market, and probably we can work out a formula wherein the operator, the owner, and some third party, maybe an investor like Sajjad or somebody, we can get into and create some value out of it. We are definitely working towards it.
Okay. So from the private equity side, in terms of opportunity, one you said was the platform where you actually bring in the assets like the Leela kind of model or a Sami model, and you actually invest and do the model. There's a similar model which I think Taj also operates on, where they have tied up with I think GIC and other investors who actually come and invest, and Taj operates. So is that the future now, or how do you? Because I don't think equity funding is happening so quickly. People are not able to, unless we actually do the FCCB and raise equity quickly, I think, to grow. Obviously, the immediate requirement is now to get over the crisis. But given the optimism around it, H2 being better, are people, now planning those kind of, ventures where they're actually talking to people who can come in and at the right point of time look at maybe acquiring their own portfolio owner assets, or even acquiring outside assets and then re-managing, rebranding, and operating? So maybe Giri can talk about his experience with the GIC kind of deal, and maybe
I think if you have a platform like GSC, it's definitely useful actually. I think, and therefore we continue to explore different opportunities. But I think supporting operators is a very different thing actually, for the simple reason that supporting the standalone owners, because I think the problem there is many of them are very highly leveraged actually, and therefore the existing priorities that exist with current lenders are a very big block. So hence, I think to be able to bring in a new investor or a lender to sort of come in, I think means that you need to have cogent conversations with the existing lender itself. So it's not easy at all. And I think I don't think there are easy solutions. And Baron, so I think we'll have to look at it on a case by case basis, is what I would say actually. And my sense is that owners who have some kind of personal capital will probably be best placed, because then they can kind of put in some of their capital, restructure loans, and create the platform for any other person to come in. But if you don't have capital, single owner, then I think the possibilities of restructuring are remote. And I do think that in the next few months, while IBC has been extended, you will see many of these people come into the IBC platform. So it's not easy. I don't think I can give a general purpose answer on this actually.
Okay. And Amit, how do you think of this scenario where your existing hotel owners will be faced with this dilemma of continuing, or where do they fund capital? Are you guys supporting them in this? How does it work?
No, definitely we will have to support them, bail them out in the current situation, and maybe some short-term loan or some kind of funding arrangement we will have to get them. And in fact, we are supporting all our, managed hotels in scaling through this situation, because please understand, we are partners. We are not only that I have to extract money, or I'm just a tenant relationship. When we take a hotel on management, we are partnering with them in whatever formula we have. So we will have to, look at their problems, and we are definitely looking at their problems and trying to build them out wherever possible. The scenario is tough, definitely, but once once the industry starts moving, this will not be that big a challenge, because as I have told earlier also, to run a hotel, you don't need a lot of capital. Lot of capital is not required for running the hotel. Yeah, money is required for clearing the debt. That is the challenge. Probably a refinance or some kind of thing will help them out to get out of the situation. And believe me, the industry will bounce back very fast. It will not be like the earlier situation in 2010, where it took a lot of time to bounce back. But here, the bounce back will happen very, very fast. It will not take much time. Once things stabilizes with the social circuit and other businesses, the hotel industry will bounce back quite quickly. And since our group, all of it, we depend heavily on the domestic travelers rather than the foreign travelers. So our situation of bouncing back, most of our hotels are all 4-star hotels. So our situation of bouncing back into business is much, much bigger than the luxury segment.
So thank you, gentlemen. Any last words? Like I like. So everyone has a view. We are some slightly more optimistic. We some want to be conservative. But any last words, like from maybe Sonu, what is his inherent thinking about hospitality? Does he feel that H2 is going to show some good prospects and we should see signs of revival?
So I think it's pretty tough question to answer. I think hope is that country as a whole and industry in particular should just bounce back. We'll have to see how international travelers and therefore international tourists and occupancy and business from them is going to pan out. That is always a key part. That is one of the profitable segments of the business. Hopefully that is going to revive. We'll have to see how soon that is going to happen. We'll have to see how work from home, therefore meetings online webinar, the way we are conducting today, is going to impact some of these on-site, in-person type meetings and intensity thereof. So these are few of the things that is going to get defined and going to get determined as we go ahead. My expectation, I'm an optimist. So hopefully things are going to bounce back. We have seen similar type of challenges in multiple asset classes at various points in time, where most of the people would have given up saying there's no hope going forward, and therefore this is a dead industry. Commercial office space being one, it has bounced back. It has been the best performing asset class. We are facing challenges in hospitality, but of course retail as well. So my hope is we are going to bounce back. What that recovery path would be is a question mark, and for people to see.
Yeah, but there is optimism in terms of investment. So you are still open to investing. You're just waiting for the right opportunity, the way you define opportunity, and maybe you would look at it when it's like a little more stable and clearer. I would like to maybe understand from some last words from Giri to just.
No. I think we have to be optimistic, and I think the fact that the domestic business is a big driver is a big reason for us to be optimistic, actually. So, and we are in the business. If we are pessimistic, it's not the end of the world. I think it calls for a lot of resilience. It calls for a lot of effort. It's going to be painful for sure, but I think optimism is what we base all our working on. So I think, and I think it'll bounce back. I think so. Of course, it'll bounce back.
Sure. Amit, you're already optimistic, so I just.
I'm quite optimistic. Yes, our first quarter was not very great, but I'm very optimistic about things will not, because we Indians, I can understand Indians much better than the foreigners, and we Indians have the habit of forgetting things very fast, and we move on in life. So I think things will be proper from the H2.
Sure. Sajjad is not around, but I would like to hear the same optimism from a banker. That would have helped everyone. Put his money where.
They have to be optimistic.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you, gentlemen. It's been an insightful discussion, and I think all of us have transparently laid out the industry issues. Some have more optimism, some are looking at wait and watch kind of thing. But we're all trying to tackle the challenge. There is no right answer right now because things are still not clear. But unlock one has happened, so gradually business has started picking up. So I'm assuming that next quarter will be another quarter of pain, and H2 definitely looks like a quarter of revival. From bankers, investors' perspective, also I think they're open to fund as long as they can see good viability and strong business case post the revival. Valuations are at an all-time low, but that is true for most of the industry. So even service industry, retail, real estate, infrastructure, everyone's going through the same pain. And hoteliers, as Giri said, are showing the resilience, and they've shown the resilience in the past. I'm sure they'll come out of this current situation stronger. We will need support, obviously, from the banking and the finance side, even the government. I hope all of this has helped us, and there's been a good interaction. Sajjad is back. So Sajjad, we were actually looking at the banker's perspective, like very optimistic. So I think if the banker is equally optimistic in terms of the industry, it will be a good ending note for us.
Yeah, we've in the last 10 years, we've seen 9/11, 2008 crisis, and maybe in India, we've seen Kerala floods. And our experience has been that people who have been stood there and fought or digged in their heels in the ground have survived over these years. And I think it's a matter of 6 months to 1 year. My sense is, let the business start. Unfortunately, if I have to explain, it's like you're 3 wickets down and 0 runs on the scoreboard. So no revenues in the last 3 months, and you lost 3 months already. So let 3 months to 6 months pass. I think you need to sit down with your stakeholders, including your lenders, redraw the cash flows, see what cost cutting you can do, how do you be innovative and increase revenues. And I think there'll be a way out, definitely, based on the revised cash flows.
Sure. So I hope all of us had a good interaction, and it has helped us gain some confidence and some insights from the stalwarts of the industry. And I think it's making us hopeful of better times to come in the near future. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.